What's going on, everybody? I'm sorry about that. I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to use this webcam that I got, this little thing right here, but I don't know, it's acting retarded for some reason. So we're just gonna go ahead with the regular laptop webcam. Sorry about the delay. I apologize. Excuse my voice today. I'm just getting over a little sinus infection, sinus cold or whatever. But if you come in, man, when you come in, please drop a comment in the chat. Black hashtag black to the land. Hashtag black to the land if you come in. Today, I just want to talk about how farming is in our blood. Farming is in our bloodline as black people. So when you come in, drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat. Hashtag black to the land or whatever you want to put in the chat. Leave a hashtag. And once we get probably 7:45, I'm gonna get into it. I see we got one person. If you just joined, man, drop that hashtag in the chat. And let me know you're in. Of course, we got the Set Apart Gardens merch, hats. I ain't got the shirt on today, but we got the hat on. And again, excuse my voice. My sinus is kind of messed up right now. But we good. And as you see, I had to shave. But it's all good. Leave a comment in the chat if you just came in. 45. Yeah. Get started at about 7:45, 5 more minutes. Hey, Miss L, how you doing, Mrs. L? How you doing? Hashtag black to the land. Yep. Today we're gonna be talking about how farming is in our blood as black people. I think we oftentimes overlook that. Good, good. I'm glad to hear you doing good. That's good. Excuse my stuffiness. I got some sinus issues going on right now, but it's all good. It's all good. Farming is in our blood. It's in our bloodline. We are naturally gifted to farm and um, hunting and fishing and just living off the land. It's in our bloodline as black people. I'm gonna just get into it at 7:45. If you're just coming in, drop a hashtag in the chat. See, we got one more person. All right, y'all. I'm gonna just get started. I was just jotting down a note. Shalom, shalom. Adaya Yisrael. Shalom. Shalom. All right. So today, I just wanna talk about, and I want y'all input as well. But I just want to talk about how we as black people. Oh, y'all see, I got a new background today. I'm in the living room. But how we as black people, it's in our bloodline to farm, to be on the land, to be outside, to live off the land. It's in our bloodline. It's in our bloodline. That's what I want to talk about today. Because I actually got a YouTube comment. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that comment up. It really sparked that realization when this person left this comment. Hold on, let me see. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, hold on. Let me find it. All right, so I got this comment from a subscriber. It said, "It's great to see a person of African descent living a life that is not promoting gangs or thug life. Africans Africans or people who descend from Africans are great at herding and farming. When after the Civil War they drifted to the cities and started the long road away from the natural born talents as farmers, or from their natural born talents as farmers. We hope this trend of Africans living in America to return to farming will continue. I work with African farmers every day and it's great. We need more farmers, especially more small farmers in America. And that comment right there, it brought back the realization of just how much farming, herding, pastoralism, hunting, fishing, how much is in our blood as Black people, and just how far we've came because, like this brother said, um, through the Industrial Revolution and through the modernization with technology, we've gotten so far away from living off the land. We've got to the factory jobs, and then we got to the corporate level jobs, and we got we went to college, and we do all these professions, but we forget where we came from, and we forget what we were naturally born and we were naturally gifted to do, which is living off the land. Because one of the first things is we all got to realize why African Americans, Black people, Negroes, whatever you want to call us, why we were taken into slavery in the first place. And that reason is none other than skilled labor. You know what I'm saying? Skilled labor, and we can get into the deeper things as far as prophecy, but I'm speaking specifically to the physical reason why we were taken as labor, why we were taken as slaves, was because we were skilled labor. If you ever do historical research on where we came from in Africa, even if you go back to the west coast of Africa today, what's going on, G Mama Gross? What's going on? Even if you go back to West Africa today, if you go back to the area of Negro land, if you go back to Nigeria, Benin, Ghana, you go back to all of these different places, what is the main thing? The main thing is agriculture. The main thing is building, living off the land, hunting. Peace, family. My life field journey. Peace. Hey, glad y'all are on. Those are the main things. So when we're talking about farming and living off the land, being in our bloodline, we got to realize why we're over here in the first place. When we look at African Americans, not even just African Americans, when we're looking at Jamaicans, Haitians, when we're looking at people down in South America who were taken in the slave trade, because we weren't just brought here to North America, we were brought to all of the different colonies. We were brought to the Caribbean. We were brought to South America. Actually, more slaves were taken to South America, Brazil, than anywhere else. You see what I'm saying? But I just say all that to say farming is in our bloodline. Pastoralism is in our bloodline. Our host appreciates your support hitting that like. Yes, please hit that like button. If you ain't subscribe, man. Please hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Right? So, and I have to remind people of this all the time when we talking about Black people and we talk about the slave trade. The reason why we were taken overseas, why we were brought through the Middle Passage, why we were brought to the New World, was because we were skilled labor. We had carpenters, we had masons, we had bricklayers, we had farmers, we had pastoralists, we had herders, we had basically the term cowboy, it came from Black cowboys who were cattle herders. They were cattlemen. You see what I'm saying? And that's how they got the name cowboy. Because of course, boy was a derogatory word that they called, Black men back in those days. That's how you get the word cowboy. Even if you look at certain tribes like the Fulani tribe is a pastoralist people. They are a what's the word I'm looking for? The word where people, they constantly move from place to place. What's that word? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Where they move from place to place, where people constantly are moving. I forget the name of it. But anyways, they are pastoralists. And a lot of people from the Fulani tribe were taken in the slave trade as well. That's why you got people who, when we came over here, we already knew how to herd cattle. We already knew how to grow everything. Even okra, we brought that over from Africa. There's a lot of different seeds that we brought over. A lot of people don't know that when people were taken in the slave trade, especially women, they would put seeds in their hair. Nomads. That's it, G Mama Rose, nomads. The Fulani, the Fulani are a nomadic pastoralist tribe. Look them up. The Fulani. They're in West Africa. A lot of um a lot of African Americans have Fulani ancestry. A lot of African Americans have Fulani ancestry, and they are a pastoralist nomadic tribe. They move from place to place and they herd cattle, they herd sheep, they herd goats, they do all of that. But yeah, yeah. So a lot of people don't know as well when a lot of the African American or the African women who were taken in the slave trade, when they were brought over, they knew they probably might not see the motherland ever again. So what they did was they put seeds in their braids, just in case when they got to where they were going, they would be able to grow food. A lot of people don't know that. So that's how we get a lot of the okras and stuff like that, and a lot of the different things that we grow over here today. Even the Gullah Geechee people. A lot of people don't know the Gullah Geechee people were people from Sierra Leone, from Benin, and a lot of those places where they grew rice. They still grow rice in those places. That's why the Gullah Geechee people stay on the sea islands. That's why they stay in those marshy lands, because they know how to grow rice. See, a lot of people don't even know that. It's not just a coincidence that they were just snatching up Africans randomly. No, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were taking people who were skilled at different things, people who knew ironwork. I just because I do a lot of research into my ancestry, and I just came across that I have an ancestor who was an iron worker. I came across a lot of my ancestors who were farmers. A lot of my ancestors, who did carpentry and things like that. But I have ancestors who did iron work as well. You know what I'm saying? So all of these different things is things that are in our bloodline, and a lot of the reason why I feel like we may suffer a lot of health issues, and why we may suffer a lot of issues to where with our mental health as well, is because we've gotten so far away from living off the land. Because think about it, the diet that we eat today, the diet that we eat today, it doesn't really well, let me rewind. The American standardized diet that we eat today, that we consume, the fast food, the processed foods, that's not what our body and our genetics were meant to take in abundance. Awesome information about ancestors. They hold a lot of answers. They do. When you start researching your ancestry, then you start to realize a lot of the customs and a lot of the traits, the characteristics of the people you come from. Because here's the thing, you never get away from your genetics. You never get away from your bloodline. That's why I always say that I always had something inside of me that always wanted to go back to the land and live off the land and to farm and to be a pastoralist, if you will, because I consider myself a pastoralist. I like shepherding sheep. I like herding sheep. I like keeping sheep on my farm. I'm not necessarily the biggest gardener. Like, I know how to garden. I know how to plant seeds, start seeds, harvest. I know that. But my preference is to be around livestock. So I know I'm a pastoralist. I know that's in my bloodline. When I researched it, I found that pastoralism is in my bloodline. Like, if you go to a lot of the Native African tribes, Eric Frederick, plus all the poison sprayed on food, exactly. Pesticides, herbicides, all of that stuff. I'm not going to say the company's name, but if you research a lot of these companies who have patents on different seeds like corn, and you'll see what they do to those seeds, you'll see all the herbicides and the pesticides that they spray on them. You'll see that those same ingredients were used for chemical warfare back in wartime. But I ain't gonna get too deep off into that. But that's something to research on your own. Look up those big seed companies and those big pesticide companies. But anyways, back to what I was saying about pastoralism and looking at the tribes that are in Africa. Like, you can look at the Watutsi tribe that are in South Africa. They herd cattle. Like, if you've ever researched Watutsi people or the Watutsi cattle, they got those long horns. Those people are pastoralists. A lot of people have that ancestry in their DNA and they don't even know it. A lot of people have that ancestry and they don't even know it. So we have to get back to what's in our bloodline. Like a lot of the food that's in our diets, that were meant to be in our diets, like okra, like different greens, like different vegetables. Like the more colorful the vegetables, the better it is for us, especially as Black people. And this is not to make it a racial thing, but it's, this is our tribe. Like there's nothing wrong with uh, Black people talking amongst Black people, because Mexicans, they clan together and they clean together just like Chinese do, just like white people do. There's no shame in it, but at the same time, us as Black folks, we got to understand us, and so we have to understand what's in our bloodline, how we were meant to live, how we were meant to eat, the things we were meant to do. We were taken as skilled labor. Why do you think? Why do you think the founding fathers, or the people who actually, they saw America and they wanted to colonize it, why do you think they went and got African slaves or Black slaves? It was because A, they were skilled, and B, because they can withstand the sun, they can withstand diseases, they can be resistant toward diseases. My light field journey says our family was already here in North America. We're indigenous Indians here. Living out the land is in our DNA for mostly all indigenous around the world. Land is vital. Exactly. And a lot of us have Native American ancestry as well. I can speak on that because my great grandmother, who lived to be, I want to say 96, she passed away when I was around like 13 or 14. She had Native American ancestry. She was Seminole Indian. A lot of Black people have Native American ancestry. So yeah, we have to get back to how our ancestors live. We have to get back to that. We have to get back to what was in our bloodline. That's why we have to research where we come from, research who we are. We have to know who we are, because when you know who you are, it'll tell you a lot about yourself. It'll tell you about the traits. Connecting to our bloodline is key. Thank you for touching on that. Yes, we have to connect back to our bloodline. Fact, our bodies don't digest the same. Exactly. Also, we stop coming together. To build for us. Ayana Swain. Thank you for that comment. Our bodies don't digest the same. We can't eat the same things as a lot of different groups. What you will find is a lot of different racial groups and a lot of different ethnic groups. We can't all eat the same things. That's why you have different cuisines among different cultures. It just so happened that as Black people, we had to assimilate into a culture that was prominent, which was American culture, which was white American culture, because our culture got stripped away from us. So like even when we go back to and we see the West Africans and what they eat, that's where we come from. That's why, like, even certain people, like, I like to reference the Gullah Geechee people, because the Gullah Geechee people actually are more tied into the African culture than we are, because the Gullah Geechee people, their slavery wasn't traditional slavery like how everyone else's slavery was. The Gullah Geechee people, a lot of times they were left unsupervised to produce the rice and everything like that, because a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the white people, they couldn't live in those marshy lands because of malaria, mosquitoes. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of times, even if you look into history, when they were going to the west coast of Africa to take these slaves, a lot of white men would die. They called it the white man's graveyard because of malaria. And the thing about it is Black people, what we don't even realize is most of us carry a sickle cell trait that allows us to be naturally immune to malaria. That's why we could stay in the marshy lands. The Gullah Geechee people could stay in the marshy lands. That's why the people on the west coast of Africa could stay in those lands that are close to the sea, because we have that natural immunity, most of us, to malaria. And a lot of different other people, when they would come to those areas, they would die. They would die of malaria because they weren't immune to it. So back to the Gullah Geechee people. Those people, they're more connected to African culture. That's why you see them in their dishes that they eat, their food that they eat, it has a lot of African influence. They use a lot of okra. They use a lot of tomatoes. They use a lot of different ingredients that they use over there in Africa. So we can really take note of that, because that's right, feathers up. Exactly. That's why those people live a lot longer over there. That's why they live a lot longer, because they're eating the things that their body is designed to digest, designed to eat. You see what I'm saying? So knowing yourself is knowing a lot. It's knowing how to proceed going forward. It's knowing that, I mean, just like when you go to the doctor and they ask you, we are children of the Bible, we have dietary laws. Exactly. We are children of the Bible. We are. And we do have dietary laws that are good for us. That, I mean, if you read the Bible, the Lord tells you what's good to eat and what's not good to eat. That's the starting point right there. You see what I'm saying? So even when you go to the doctor and they ask you, okay, well, on your mother's side, did they have diabetes? Did they have high blood pressure? Did they have this? Does cancer run in your family? They ask you that because your genetics play a role. That's why you look at your ancestors and you say, okay, well, my grandma, my great grandma, who lived to be 94 years old, what did she eat? What did she do? So my grandma now, her daughter, my great grandma's daughter, which is my grandma, she always tells me when she was growing up, they didn't eat processed foods. They didn't eat out like that. She said, I remember when her mother would go and she would wring the neck of a chicken and throw it out there and just let it run around. Then she would pluck it. She'll scold it with hot water and she'll pluck it. And then that was dinner for the night. She put the whole chicken in the oven. That was dinner for the night. She said, oh, I remember when my dad, when he had a garden, he used to till the land in the lot next door, he would garden. He would grow okra, tomatoes. He would grow corn. He would grow this. He would grow greens. He would grow cabbage. They would grow their food. So, okay, if these people live to be this long, if I want to live to be that long, I'm going to do what they did. So that's why you got to look. And then also look at their physique. So I know I come from slim people. My father is slim. My mother is slim. So I know my genetics, I should be slim. I shouldn't be as big as I am right now. I'm just being honest. I shouldn't be as big as I am right now. But, you know, that's just something to look at. You know what I'm saying? We have to know what our genetics is so we can live the right way, eat the right way, and do the right things. See, a lot of people are hardwired to live a certain way. That's why you find people who are just naturally gifted at things. Like you might find a person who just has a mind for engineering. And you look down in their history and you will see that they come from a long line of people who were engineers. You see what I'm saying? You see people who just love to be around animals all the time. They love to be around dogs. Then you will see people, you'll go back and then their ancestors bred dogs or something like that. Or their ancestors had livestock. You see what I'm saying? Just like me, I have I don't know what it is in me, but I like to butcher. I love to butcher things. I love to butcher. I love to be around livestock. I love to have livestock. I love to see the circle of life. I love to have an animal born on my farm, raise that animal up, feed it every day, shepherd it, and then also butcher that animal, slaughter that animal, butcher that animal, process that animal, and eat that animal. And then when I look into my ancestry, I see that this is what my ancestors did. This is how they lived. So we have to understand that. We have to start really researching beyond us because we get so caught up in just we're Black in America, but what we have to take note of is we're not just Black in America. You should host workshops to teach hands-on classes for new homesteaders. I'm glad you brought up that point, Adaya Yisrael. I'm glad you brought up that point because I actually have a chicken processing workshop the first weekend in September. I forgot to post that on my YouTube, but I'm going to post that on YouTube. I am having I probably did post it on YouTube. No, I posted on Instagram. But anyways, I am having a chicken processing workshop for beginning homesteaders. The first week in September. So if you are in the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, if you're in that area, or you don't mind traveling to Georgia, I am hosting a workshop. It'll be $75 a person. Everybody will leave with their own chicken. I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna have literature, everything like that. So it's just gonna be an in-depth class on processing your own chickens. Does anyone know a good program or process to find out about your ancestry? Yes, go on. It's a lot of different things. I did 23andMe. I did Ancestry.com, My True Ancestry. So okay, I did 23andMe. 23andMe brought me, it basically tells you basically what region and stuff your bloodlines come from. So most of my stuff comes from West Africa, mainly Nigeria. It doesn't actually go into the tribes on there. It just goes into the region, and each percentage from each region. And then what you can do is you could take that raw DNA data and you could paste it in My True Ancestry, and My True Ancestry will go into depth as far as tribes and everything like that. So I found out recently that most of my bloodline goes back to the Yoruba tribe. And also, not to make it not to go into genetics and stuff like that, but also African ancestry too will go into tribes. Yep, African ancestry is good. It depends on what you're looking for with DNA. So if you want tribal, definitely African ancestry. If you just want to know like what your genetic makeup is, you could do 23andMe. You could do Ancestry.com. You could do My True Ancestry, different things like that. And speaking of ancestry, I actually found out too that my haplogroup, I don't know if y'all know what haplogroup is, but it's basically your father, whatever. That comes from Spain, but it's still a black haplogroup. That just lets me know that there were black people in different areas that a lot of people don't even know about, like the Iberian Peninsula. There's a lot of history in that, but I ain't gonna go into that. But anyways, knowing your ancestry is important. Knowing the characteristics and the traits is important because it lets you know what how your genetic makeup is, what you might naturally have a knack for. You know what I'm saying? What you might naturally, what you should intake, what you shouldn't intake. All of that. You should know all of that so you can live a more fulfilled life and a more healthy life. You see what I'm saying? Because I feel like we've assimilated so much into American culture that we forget that we're African sometimes too. And I've had this conversation with people where I was like, yeah, I'm African. Not saying it in terms of culturally, but bloodline, yes. And people like, no, we're American. And I'm like, yeah, culturally we're American, but bloodline, genetically, we're mostly African. So if we know that, then we should know that there's certain things that we're bred to do. You see what I'm saying? There are certain things that we shouldn't eat. There are certain things that we should eat more of. There are certain things we should do. There are certain things we shouldn't do, that we shouldn't partake in. But we've distanced ourselves so much from our roots that now it's really harming us in a lot of ways, like mentally, like physically in our health, like spiritually. Because I mean, there isn't a coincidence that black people who live on the American diet are higher in diabetes, higher in high blood pressure, cancers. You see what I'm saying? All of these different things. Because you got to think, what are we consuming? We're consuming a lot of sodium. We're consuming a lot of pork. We're consuming a lot of genetically modified organisms. A lot of sugar. We're not meant to consume a lot of these things. A lot of milk. You see what I'm saying? A lot of us are lactose intolerant and we don't know why. It's because we weren't meant to eat that stuff, a lot of that stuff. Or if we were, it's supposed to be from a natural place. What's up, C3, Triple C, Cosmic Carbon Consciousness? How you doing, family? Glad you're on. Hey, you ain't really missing nothing. I'm just talking about how farming and living off the land, it's really in our bloodline as black people. I had another point I wanted to hit. I think I had 2 more points. Yeah. Oh, another thing, right? Another thing. Looking into the area that we come from. So typically, if you look at the western coast of Africa, you pretty much go from the top to bottom. Like a lot of us have ancestry from all the way up from Benin and I can't think of that other place up there, but all the way up from West Africa down to Southwest Africa, Angola, Congo, even South Africa. You look at that whole area. If you ever look on the map, if you ever look at Africa on the map and you look at those lands that we come from, those interior lands of West Africa, the Western coast, even South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, if you look at it compared to the rest of Africa, what you'll see is there's a lot of desert, there's a lot of dry lands in the other areas where we're not at. But if you look in the lands that we come from and where we're at, it's super green. That's because those people are master agriculturalists. Those people are master agriculturalists, just like we're master agriculturalists. If we get back into agriculture, there's just certain things that spiritually we'll pick up on, that internally we'll pick up on. Like when I started farming, when I started, homesteading and doing different things, there were things that I just naturally picked up on. Like a lot of the things that I know how to do, I learned them obviously through looking at other people on videos or reading books. But ultimately, I had to try it hands on. And when I tried it hands on, there were certain things that instinctively I just knew how to do. And a lot of Black people don't realize that they're the same way. If you just get out here and do it, there's just things that instinctively it'll just come back to you. It'll be things that you would just pick up on. If you're raising animals, you'll just pick up on certain things. If you're trying to do different practices, you'll just pick up on it. It'll be instinct. It'll be like second nature to you if you just do it, because it's inside of you genetically. It's inside of you spiritually. But yeah, look at the area that we come from in West Africa. A lot of us come from, a lot of our blood, even the Native American and indigenous ancestry we might have that is here in America. Those people, they taught the pilgrims, how to grow corn and how to grow things like that, how to live off the land. Those people, I mean, the most fertile land. Why do you think why do you think the South is what it is? Like, think about that, right? Think about why the South is what it is. Why the South is so treasured, especially by a lot of people who claim Southern pride, and a lot of white supremacists and things like that. Why do you think the South is so prized as what it is? Because the South is where the wealth of this nation was produced. First off, the South is where the foundation was laid for this country. Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, those states. Florida wasn't really a part of it because Florida was still controlled by the Spanish. But heck, even Florida too, for the Spanish. But when we look at those areas, why do you think the South is what it is? Because the South is what amassed the wealth for this country. Cotton, tobacco. How many of our ancestors worked on cotton fields? How many of our ancestors worked in tobacco fields? You see what I'm saying? The South has some of the richest land in, I ain't even gonna say some of, the South has the richest land in America. Peanuts, yes, peanuts. Peanuts, peaches, oranges, pecans. What other crops you want to name? Corn. I mean, whatever crop you want to name, the South produced it in mass. In mass. The South is the most richest land in America. The South is the reason why America is what it is. And who you think cultivated that land in the South? It was Black people. Who do you think cultivated that land? That's why I like that they're pushing a lot of Black people to return back to the South. Because if you really want to look at it, man, the South is like home for us in America. The South is like home for us. I know we complain about how hot it gets, but the heat is good for us as Black people. That's another thing. As Black people, we got to stop being afraid of the sun. That's my third point, actually. That's my third point. My third point is our genetics make it possible for us to withstand the sun, withstand the harmful things of the sun, that is. I know we complain like, oh man, it's hot out there. But guess what? I be saying this to people. I be like, man, I got a deeper respect for my ancestors being in this sun like this, working in this sun, because think about it, man. They was out there in 100+ degree days. They was out there picking cotton, picking peanuts, tobacco, growing corn, herding livestock, keeping livestock, plowing fields, growing rice. They was doing all of that in 100+ degree weather. Our genetics make it possible for us to be in the sun. Actually, it's more healthy for us to be in the sun. as black people. That's why a lot of us get sick too. That's why a lot of us get sick because we're not in the sun long enough. We're not sweating long enough. We're not getting those healing properties for the sun from the sun. We're not getting a lot of those healing properties. Why do you think? Why do you think? Okay, you can look at your grandparents or your great grandparents, and they so dark, but you'll look at your skin complexion or your children's skin complexion, and you see they way lighter, even though they both of their parents the same complexion, and they lighter. That's because they not in that sun like them old folks used to be. Them old folks used to be in that sun outside. Nowadays we be in the house. We be in the house, and that ain't healthy for us because you got to think. Not only are we breathing in stale air, but we're also under fake lighting that isn't healthy to us at all. You see what I'm saying? We breathing in the same air. We're not getting no fresh air. We're not getting that sweat out. We're not detoxifying. The sun also detoxifies us. It brings out toxins in the body, and it also puts healing properties into the body. I don't know all the science, but I know in my spirit it's healthy for you. In my spirit, I know that the sun is healthy for you. I remember I used to be growing up, man, because I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Florida where it's hot. You know what I'm saying? And we used to be outside from sun up to sundown, like Cosmic Carbon constantly say, sun up to sundown. I used to be outside from sun up to sundown, right? And man, when I tell you summertime, when there wasn't no school, I swear from beginning to the end of the summer, I was 2 shades darker. You see what I'm saying? But I was healthy. I never got sick. I never got sick. Why are we scared of the sun? Why are we scared of the thing that's really helping us, which is our benefit? Honestly, why you think they came and got you? Because a lot of people from other ethnicities, not making a racist thing or a racial thing, but a lot of people from a lot of ethnicities can't handle the sun like we can naturally. We can handle the sun. Stop being scared to go out in the sun. Put some cocoa butter on, and you don't need no sunscreen. Put some cocoa butter on, some shea butter, and go out there and do some work. Just moisturize yourself and go out there and do some work. You don't need sunscreen. That is a myth. We don't need sunscreen. But I say all that to say we really have to look at who we are and what our genetic makeup is, and what are our benefits and what are the things that make us different that are also our benefit. And let's capitalize on that. Because honestly, I guarantee you, if we had a lot more black young brothers who are on farms, who are hunting, who were fishing, and all of these different things, we wouldn't be killing each other at the rate we kill each other. If we took, all of the young black youth who live in Chicago, the young black boys and girls, if we took them and for a summer, every year for the summer, we just put them out on the pastures. We put them around some animals, some chickens, some goats, some sheep, some cows. We take them hunting, teach them gun safety, teach them how to use a gun in a healthy way. Put a fishing pole in their hand, take them out to the creek, or we go out to the ocean, show them how to fish. What do you think that would do for them? That would expand their mind so much, and that would give a sense of purpose to them. And that would create a healthy mindset in those youth. That would expose them to something different. You melanin, chlorophyll, both rely on photosynthesis. Exactly. And photosynthesis comes from the sun. Exactly. Excuse my voice today. I'm just getting over a little sinus infection. You speaking too much truth. They're buffering. Oh man, they buff. See, man, that's crazy. Am I still buffering? Somebody that can fund that should do that. Exactly. And that's something that I am going to do probably the next summer. Is I'm gonna just do what I can. Take a handful of teens or little boys and little girls, take a handful of them, and just bring them up here, even if it's for a week. Because one thing I learned is a lot of the kids in the hood, the reason why they result to what they result to is because all they seeing every day is the hood. All they seeing every day is selling drugs, people fighting. All they seeing is a concrete jungle every day. That's all they seeing. I come from that, so I understand that. It's you only can do so much when you're in that environment. But when you exposed to a different environment and somebody's actually saying, hey, let me teach you how to do this. Let me teach you how to do that. You know what I'm saying? Let me expose you to this. Let me expose you to that. That'll blow their minds. That'll blow their minds. That's something I didn't have. That's something I ain't have. But guess what? I pray that I can give that to somebody, to a child, to a teenager. Somebody that teach a man how to fish, they would never go hungry. Exactly. Let's teach our children to fish. Our children are our future. Let's teach them to fish. Let's teach them to hunt. Let's teach them to be self-sufficient. I mean, let's teach them to build. Let's teach them what's going to best suit them, right? But all of it can be productive. So everybody don't have to be a farmer. You can have some people that build. You can have some people that engineer. You can have some people that practice medicine. You can have some people that butcher, that do livestock. You can have some people that just garden. You can have some people that know how to prune trees. You can have somebody that do landscaping. See, all of these different things can fit into to one. You have people with a business sense who know how to market it. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have people who can teach people. You see what I'm saying? But we need to go back to a place where we're learning specialties. We're learning specialties, and we're not just going to school and getting a generalized education, which is really a mask for indoctrination. Because as we all know, a lot of these higher learning institutions are just indoctrination camps teaching social agendas and social constructs that people want to put into society. That's all they are, a lot of them, unless you're going for a specialty. So we have to understand that. They would have both a spiritual and physical outlet for purpose. Exactly, Phil R. I appreciate that comment. Phil R. DNR Homestead. That is true. We are. We are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. The true ones. Once again, we have our children out of the public food system. Exactly. Exactly. But yes, I want to highlight what Phil R said. They would have both a spiritual and physical outlet for purpose. See, a lot of times we get so caught up in the physical, but we don't realize a lot of us are yearning for something spiritually more. Why do you think that we do the things we do? It's because we're yearning for something more spiritually. Because you can have a lot of entertainers, a lot of black entertainers, they have everything they could ever imagine in the physical realm, but still they're not satisfied. They still need something more. And what that is something spiritually. It's spiritually. It's just something spiritual about being outside in nature. Just seeing nature, just seeing God's beautiful creation, first off, but just seeing how the birds, they just fly and they just, they'll roost up on this, or you can see a squirrel just running, getting acorns, or you just see the wind blowing the trees, or or even when you see the rain come down, and it's just something spiritual about that, just being in God's creation. It's something spiritual about seeing something grow from essentially a seed this big. It's just something about that can feed you. It's just something about that. So we gotta get back to that, man. We gotta get back to the land. We gotta get black to the land. That's why I'm gonna be screaming that black to the land, black people back to the land. Because honestly, man, I just want to be real. It's a reason why they didn't give us that 40 acres in the mule. It's a reason why we did not receive 40 acres in the mule. Because if every eligible person would have received 40 acres in the mule, the makeup of this country would not be what it is today. Because the people who they want to give 40 acres in the mule to are the same people who just did all the work and who were skilled at all of the work. So if they would have gave that, then essentially you would have had people who would have became self-sufficient and who would have became a power force. And that is not what, was needed in that time that they saw fit. They didn't see that because it would have been a problem. But we have to stop being afraid of our God-given gifts. We are gifted naturally as African descendant people. We are gifted naturally to farm, to be pastoralists, to be master gardeners. We are designed to do that. We were also, uh, in a sense, bred like that as well. Why do you think they had breeding farms? And I don't want to get too deep into all that, but why do you think that they had, they felt like they had to breed us like livestock to keep these qualities and stuff like that? You see what I'm saying? But we have to stop being afraid to get out and get out in the sun and get our nails dirty, man. Because it's also healing properties and just being out there in the dirt, your hands touching the dirt, your feet touching the grass and the dirt. It's something healthy about that. Like when I had COVID, the first time I had COVID, man, I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I thought, man, I was like, first time I caught COVID, I was like, I see why people dying from this illness. I saw why people were dying from it because I caught COVID, man. I literally had COVID for maybe like 10 days, and it seemed like every day it just got worse and worse. So like the first day, I just had a little throat stuff. Second day, I'm feeling weak. Third day, fevers. Fourth day, fevers. Fever every day. Fever every day. But you know what I made sure I did while I had COVID? I made sure I got up every day and went outside because I still had to feed my animals. I still had to make sure my animals got water. I mean, sometimes it take me an hour to do all my chores because, I was just moving that slow and I was that sick. But I still made sure that me, my wife, and all my kids, because we all caught it, I made sure we all got outside to breathe in the fresh air and to get in the sun to heal properly. My grandma said the same thing when she caught COVID. She said, it's just something about being outside, and just breathing in fresh air because you're not breathing in that stale air. You're not you're not rebreathing in all those toxins. You're not laying on your back all day. That's how a lot of people were dying because fluid was getting in their lungs. That mucus was getting in their lungs and it was building up because they were laying down all day. They were laying and that stuff seeped down in their lungs and pneumonia set in. You see what I'm saying? But I got outside. I made sure to get outside, and I believe that's one of the main things that healed me. That and prayer. You see what I'm saying? But as Black people, and I want to encourage y'all to start looking into a lot of these tribes that are in Africa. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of us may descend from, like the Igbo, like the Yoruba, like the Watusi, like the Fulani, like the Hausa, like the Khoisan people. I seen that I had Khoisan ancestry. Like South Africans, like people from Zimbabwe, different tribes that a lot of us may descend from and have a lot of bloodline that come from there. Look at what these people are known for. Look at what these people do. Look at the character traits of these people, and you'll see that in your bloodline, a lot of things will start to make a lot of sense. Like I mean, and even you don't even have to go back that far. Just if you can look into your ancestors who was enslaved too. Look at the things they did, the plantations they were on. Look into those, and you will see a lot of things will start to make sense. And two, if you're not, and if you are a homesteader or you a farmer and you watching right now, leave a comment in the chat if some things just came natural to you when you started homesteading. I want to hear from y'all because I want to hear if it's the same for y'all as it is for me. If you're a homesteader like DNR Homestead, Cosmic Carbon Consciousness, or gardener, if you are living on the land in some type of way, and you started, and some things just came natural to you. Some things were just like second nature or instinctual. If that was the case for you, leave a comment in the chat and let me know because I want to make sure I'm not crazy. Because I just feel like some of the things that I just already kind of knew from another life almost. It seemed almost like I just knew how to do it from another lifetime. Like it's crazy. Like when I started getting back to the land, I started understanding. I just I just had an understanding for it. And that's not to say everything. That's not to say everything because I'm still learning different things that I do want to do. But it's like when I start doing those things, it's not that hard for me because I just catch on like real quick. Especially with this. Maybe it's just my gifting. But like just like you'll have some people who they might not have never saw a Rubik's Cube before. They might not have never saw a Rubik's Cube, but you hand them one and they'll know how to do it because their brain is just wired like that. Leave a comment in the chat if you feel like that. If you felt like that before, leave a comment in the chat. But yeah, man, I just that comment. I'm gonna read it again for the people who didn't catch it the first time. That comment really like opened my eyes, and it said, "It's great to see a person of African descent living a life that is not promoting gangs or thug life. Africans are great at herding and farming. When after the Civil War they drifted to the cities, this started a long road away from their natural born talents as farmers. We hope this trend of Africans living in America to return to farming will continue. I work with African farmers every day and it's great. We need more farmers and especially more small farmers in America." That really like just hit me because I'm like, wow, we are naturally gifted to do this. And we've been almost tricked out of it. Like y'all know that saying like tricked out the streets. Like it's like we've been tricked out the farm. I will say I do see a lot of urban gardens and backyards and more homesteads. I do too. Like I believe we've been tricked out the farm though. I believe we've been tricked out the land. Like I believe Pickford versus Glickman, like that like if you look into that case where black farmers were discriminated against, that was on purpose. That was systematic. Because I just felt like, you know, the more black people we have on the land, the more black people we have thinking self-sufficiently, I feel like it's really like a threat because a lot of people want us to be so dependent on others. Like, like you got the right that want us to be dependent on them, and you have the left that want us to be dependent on them, and then you got all these movements that want us to be dependent on them. You got all these different people wanting us to be dependent on them. So it's like when we get to a point where we say, you know what, we're not gonna be dependent on nobody. We're gonna depend on ourselves. You got the Asians who want us to be dependent with their hair salons, with their food restaurants. You know what I'm saying? With their nail stores. Then you got a lot of different the fast food chains. We don't own none of them. The grocery store chains. We don't own none of them. A lot of the clothing lines. We don't own none of them. Vehicles. We don't own none of them. Cell phones, TVs, people who build our house, contractors. We don't own none of that. Doctor's office, we go see the doctor. We don't own none of that. Dentists, we don't own none of that. Churches is basically the only thing we probably own in the black community. Is churches and a little bit of homes, a little bit of houses, but mainly churches. We don't even own our schools. We don't even teach our own no more. Back then, we had all of that stuff. We had our own bus lines. We had our own movie theaters. We had our own dry cleaners. We had our own grocery stores. We had our own farms. We had our own convenience stores, our own restaurants. We had everything, our own feed stores. We had that. We had that. But now, what do we got now? What do we have now? Nothing but churches. And I feel like our churches should be getting us to the point to where we back self-sufficient, but that's a conversation for another day. I ain't gonna talk about that, but the people who have the mindset need to act on it pretty much. And how do we start first? What's the first weapon of warfare? Food and water. Food and water. When the enemy want to come against a person or come against a kingdom, come against a country, what's the first thing they try to do is starve them out. Why do you think we just saw that firsthand? Russia and Ukraine. We just saw that firsthand. The Russians were trying to cut off the trade routes to the Ukrainians. They were taking over the cities like I forget the name of them cities, but they were taking over them cities where they get a lot of exports in. They were trying to stop the exports because if you stop it from coming in, then eventually you'll starve out the opposition, and then eventually they'll have to surrender. So that's the first rule: is we have to get to a point where we can at least provide our own basic necessities. our own food and our own water, shelter. Those are the three basic things. You know what I'm saying? And it's in our bloodline to do all of it. It's in our bloodline. That's why you'll find, you know, kids who grew up in the hood all their life, and then they, you know, they might get out here and, you know, they might get on somebody's construction site, and they might, you know, start studying carpentry, and they just know how to do it, and they real good at it because they great granddaddy did it, or they great, you know, it's just in their bloodline. We have to look into your bloodline. You'll find out a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff will start to make sense. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I just want to remind you. I just want to remind, you know, Black people, African Americans, Caribbean, whoever, melanated people, Black people, that you are naturally gifted and naturally talented. Farmers, homesteaders, huntermen, fishermen. You are natural to it. The first hunter gatherers, or not the first, but the most ancient group of hunter gatherers that are still around today are the Khoisan people of South Africa, or the Khoisan people, and they are uh, melanated people. They are melanated people. 2023 is going to really be the beginning of the food shortages. Prepare. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Start preparing now. Each one, reach one can still work. Exactly. It don't take a lot. It just take a lot of people doing a little bit. It don't take a lot of people doing a lot. It just take a lot of people doing a little bit. Or if you don't got a lot of people, just a little people doing a lot or a little bit, or just doing something. That's it. Just how many other people just doing something. Because if you get if you get a good amount of people doing something, then other people gonna start tagging along. And as you all know, as Black folks, we'll hop on the bandwagon real quick. When we see something on the up and up, when we see a trend, when we see a fad or something that's coming in style, we will hop on it real quick, no matter what it is. Whether it was selling crack cocaine, whether it was gang banging, whether it was gangster rap, whether it's this, all these agendas that's going on today. What did we did? We hopped in it and we made it cool. So let's make the right things cool. Let's start making the right things cool. Let's start making the right things cool. And before you know it, you'll see our community do a 360, a full 360. You'll see Black people dignified again. Man, I look back at pictures from 40, 50 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, where Black people were dignified. We don't have no more dignity no more. I'm not, a lot of us that are in the spotlight don't have dignity no more. We still got a lot of good people with dignity, like people who won't hear. You know what I'm saying? Just certain things we not willing to do. We got to get back to that point. But the way they portraying us is like we'll do anything for $1 because we ain't never had $1. But you don't need $1 when you got it in here. You don't need it because you don't need theirs. You got your own. You see what I'm saying? But that's all I wanted to come to y'all today and bring that topic. You know what I'm saying? Because that sparked something in me when that brother left that comment. It really made me think, and it really made me do a lot of research. And when I started researching these, I had been researched a lot of this stuff, but it just brought it back to my remembrance. We have a natural gifting. We have a natural gift. We have a natural gift, and we need to hone in on that because they've been trying to drown it out of us. It's just certain things that people can never kill in us. You can never kill the spirit of a Black person. We went through the worst of the worst circumstances. You talk about we went through the Middle Passage where you got dead bodies being thrown overboard left and right. Yet you still got people who made it through that. You got people who made it through working on sugar plantations, malnourished, barely fed. Then you talking about the Willie Lynch stuff. Then you talking about just the brutality and just stuff I don't even want to get into. But you talking about all of that, and we still singing Negro spirituals. We still praising God. We still dance and shout and laugh. It's just certain things you can't kill in us. And one of them is living off the land. You can't kill that in us. Because no matter how many people may be led astray, it's still gonna be a remnant. It's still always gonna be a remnant of us who still living how God designed us to live, which is off the land, which is in His creation. But yeah, man, that's all. I'm trying to keep it at an hour. I appreciate all y'all. I appreciate all of y'all for joining in. Definitely appreciate that. Sap Gardens family. Every Friday. Hey, if you got a real quick before I get off, if you got a topic, that y'all want to hear next week, next Friday, or just period in the lives, leave it in the comment real quick before I close it out. This is what confuses them to this day. They can't understand how we surviving, thriving, and partying. I'm telling you, we laugh at our pain. We laugh at our pain because you laugh to keep from crying, but we laugh at it to keep going. But if you got a comment, if you got a topic that you want you want me to talk about, go ahead and leave a comment down below real quick before I close out. Yep, go ahead and leave a comment before I close out in the chat. If not, just leave a comment on this video once I close it out. But remember, black folks, we gotta get back. We gotta get black to the land. If somebody got the power to feed you, they got the power to starve you. And then also remember, it's in your bloodline. A lot of things you don't gotta try hard on. A lot of things just gonna come to you. Just get out there and start doing it. Just get your hands in some dirt. You know what I'm saying? Just start doing something. But with that, I'm gonna just go ahead and close out. I appreciate y'all for joining in. Sorry about my voice. Like I said, I got getting over a little sinus infection, but it's all good. But with that, I just want to say peace and blessings.